What is up, everybody? We're back again with some breaking news. Breaking news update. Um, and I'm just going to say that this is the most unfortunate breaking news I've ever had to break. The Dallas Cowboys have elected to keep Mike McCarthy as the head coach. That's right, Mike McCarthy is coming back as the head coach next year to finish out the final year of his 5-year deal. They're using his 5th-year option. So we're doing the same shit that we did with Jason Garrett, lame duck coach that's going to get fired, so the players are going to play half-ass next year and not really try that much because they know the coach is out the door because he's not going to get them to the Super Bowl. So the whole lame duck coach approach is back in play again. So next year is a completely wasted season. If you're going to keep Mike McCarthy, just extend him. The whole lame duck thing has never worked in the history of forever. It does not work. And the fact that Mike McCarthy is staying in Dallas, and we said on the channel, if you guys haven't watched the other videos, on McCarthy getting fired and the other coaching options, it's great content. Go back and watch it. But I had already said, well, clearly McCarthy's getting fired. Jerry Jones is embarrassed by this loss. He's embarrassed of where the franchise is at this point. He's going to make a move. And apparently not. So, I think everybody, the national media, myself, anybody who knew anything reporting on this topic or how Jerry Jones's pulse going into the playoffs was saying, well, obviously he's going to be fired. And I said the same thing. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk coaching candidates, guys, because obviously he's going to be fired. And now this whole, going back to the whole debate of Jerry Jones talking about whether Mike McCarthy was going to get extended or not and whether he was going to get fired or not. Well, we're going to take it game by game. We're going to see how it goes in the playoffs. Jerry's a big fucking liar. He's a big fucking liar because what was he evaluating? Was he was evaluating game by game? Was Jerry expecting to lose to Green Bay in the first round? Is that what he was expecting? Was that the evaluation? He was really pleased with what he saw against Green Bay? Because he said he was going to evaluate whether McCarthy had a job or not game by game. He only played one game. And they got fucking torched by a 7 seed. Okay, so clearly you were fucking lying. And, when you really start peeling back the layers of this, it just gets stupider and stupider and stupider and stupider. So let's talk about, obviously, which I know you guys are going to be talking about, all the candidates that were available. This is probably the best coaching class I've seen available in 10 plus years. Pete Carroll's available. And I know that you guys don't want all these guys, but they're all good coaches that were on the market, whether we had our favorites or not, whether it be Harbaugh, whether it be Belichick, Vrabel, Mike Tomlin, if he became available. Regardless of who they were, the point is, guys, you had Ben Johnson available, you had Pete Carroll available, you had Bill Belichick available, you had Jim Harbaugh available, you had Mike Vrabel available. The consensus is that Tomlin is coming back with a year of his contract, but he would be available if somebody wanted to trade. So Tomlin was more than likely available. And then the Cowboys had also had talks internally about elevating Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, to be the head coach because they were literally having conversations, and this has now been spewed the last couple days as public knowledge, leaks from inside the building, saying that, well, the Cowboys were more than likely going to fire McCarthy anyway, even regardless of how it went. Barring a Super Bowl victory, they were more than likely going to fire McCarthy anyway, even if it was like Super Bowl loss, because they liked Dan Quinn so much and were so afraid to lose him to a head coaching job that they then were going to fire McCarthy to elevate Dan Quinn to keep him in the building. Now, as I've said previously, Dan Quinn can go. I've seen enough. But if you already had, but stick with me here, guys. If you already had the plan that you were going to fire McCarthy to elevate Quinn because you didn't want to lose him, then why in the hell would you not fire McCarthy after what in the fuck we just watched on Sunday? You're literally saying, well, if McCarthy got us to an NFC Championship game and we lost a nail-biter, we'd let him go, which then you really wouldn't have a reason to let him go. That means he really would have done a pretty damn good job. You were going to let him go for Dan Quinn, but when he shits the bed, you're not going to let him go. So you were going to let him go whether he did his job or not, and then once he shits the bed, that gave him job security? What? This is the points that comes down to this. These are the situations, and I literally talked about it yesterday with the Belichick, and Jerry doesn't meddle that much anymore, and this and that. But it's like every 4 or 5 years with Jerry, there's one thing that he just has to stick his nose in. And this is one of those things. And I don't know, I guess I can't blame it all on Jerry, because like I said in the video yesterday talking about Belichick and the other coaching options, Steven basically runs things now. Jerry chimes in here and there, but Steven basically runs the organization with Will McClay. So essentially Steven decided that he wanted to keep Mike, and then Jerry was like, yeah, I'm fine with it too. I have no idea what is happening right now. What is going on? This was the best coaching class in 10 years. Who the hell are you going to hire next year? Who in the shit do you think is going to be available next year that could do anything to turn this franchise around? Belichick ain't going to be available next year. Harbaugh's not going to be available next year. Vrabel's not going to be available next year. Pete Carroll's not going to be available next year. Harbaugh's not going to be available next year. Mike Tomlin's not going to be available next year. Ben Johnson isn't going to be available next year. Who in the hell do you think is going to be available? I can't wrap my mind around what I just heard, guys. I can't wrap my mind around it. I can't believe it. And then on top of that, you keep him with his 5th-year option, so he has no extension, and you do the lame duck thing on top of it. So the players really aren't going to buy into anything because they already know he's a lame duck with one foot out the door who may or may not get fired mid-season if it's not going well. There's so many issues here. You're going to bring back the guy who can't motivate him. I mean, we all saw Hard Knocks. He's the worst motivator in the history of football. He did a good job with the offense and calling the offense and got Dak playing well up until the shitter we saw on Sunday. But let's be real, guys. I don't even want to give him that much credit for the play calling and Dak's success this year, because as Chris Broussard from First Things First would say, Dallas feasted on tomato cans all year. And at the end of the day, they were the biggest tomato can of all in the playoffs. So McCarthy getting Dak to perform really well against Carolina and Washington twice and New York twice and Philadelphia, that's defense was a disaster. And the Jets, and I don't care. I don't care. That's not really that impressive, because when McCarthy and Dak needed to be calling plays and dialing up some schemes and getting the ball all over the field, the horrible Arizona Cardinals couldn't do it. Philadelphia Eagles round 1. did it, made some mistakes down the stretch, but that's right, the Bills couldn't do it. Oh, Miami couldn't do it. The Lions couldn't do it, which they won that game, but let's be real, guys, the offense was not impressive in that football game. Couldn't perform against the Lions, couldn't perform against the Bills, couldn't perform against the Dolphins, couldn't perform against the 49ers, couldn't perform against the Cardinals. Oh, and then shit the bed against a porous Green Bay defense. Yeah. So no, I'm not impressed with the play calling this year. No, I'm not impressed with Dak Prescott's season because, let's be real, we have all seen this before, guys. Dallas just usually has a little bit tougher schedule than they had this year. We've seen this movie before. When Dak was up for his contract extension, we played 3 dogs in a row. Miami was horrible that year. We played Miami, Washington, and I believe the Giants to open the year. And Dak went wild. He went wild. Throwing for 400 yards in 3 straight games. What did he do the rest of the year? We didn't even make the damn playoffs. So, let's get real. It's not a McCarthy Dak thing. Dak's always done this. He lights up tomato cans, and so does the rest of the team. Nobody crushes a tomato can like the Cowboys. But when the big lights are on and the big stage is on and the playoff teams come to town, we see exactly what the fuck we saw Sunday night. And that's why McCarthy needed to go. And now, let's be real, guys. Do you guys remember the first year of Mike McCarthy? Do you remember? I've tried so hard to block it out. I can't even remember the defensive coordinator's name. But Mike McCarthy hired the defensive coordinator. It was the worst defense in the history of the NFL. Halfway through the season. So now, like I said, guys, I have no use for Dan Quinn. I'm okay seeing Dan Quinn leave. But now what? So we're going to keep McCarthy. Dan Quinn is leaving, which was why I was pitching guys like Vrabel and Belichick, because the defense needed to get fixed, and you could solve your head coaching issue and fix your defense, and hopefully you could get a solid offensive coordinator in. And with Vrabel, it was a really obvious fix because it's head coach, physicality, discipline, everything you need on that Cowboys team, can fix the defense, and brings in Arthur Smith, his former offensive coordinator that is available, who got the most out of Ryan Tannehill. So you have a solid coordinator coming in, more than likely. But now what? We're going to leave it up to Mike McCarthy to bring in another one of his buddies so we can have the worst defense in the history of the NFL again? That's what we're going to do? That's where we're going with this? That's the plan, right? So it's like, now it gets even worse. You're bringing McCarthy back without Quinn, and even with Quinn's issues, he was part of the only reason this team was hanging together was that defense was spotty and they got run on, but at least it was something. The defense wasn't as bad as it was when McCarthy first got there. At least having Dan Quinn as the DC brought something to the table to compensate for McCarthy's lack of clock management and not knowing when to call timeout. And like in the Bills game with Stephon Diggs, guys fumble and they tell you that they fumbled. They're hurrying everybody back line. Hey guys, let's get back line. I fumbled. Don't let them review it. And not being able to throw the challenge flag because you're waiting for somebody to buzz down and tell you he fumbled. Who cares? If the guy gets up and says, I fumbled, I'll take his word for it. It's the first half. What's the timeout? I'll take his word for it. McCarthy sitting on the sideline, completely in over his head, deer in headlights constantly at the end of games, end of halves. It was bad enough. with Dan Quinn and the defense bailing them out once in a while. But now without Dan Quinn, and God knows what coordinator's coming in, and God knows how bad this and soft this defense is going to be. They were already soft enough. How fucking bad is it going to be now?
Horrible.
I can't believe it, guys. McCarthy is coming back. For you guys who maybe just started watching the video, Cowboys are retaining Mike McCarthy. I don't understand it, guys. We're bringing Mike McCarthy back with no Dan Quinn when to be a lame duck coach with no extension, and one of the best coaching classes in 10 years available on the table. That's what we're doing. And I said after the Cowboys lost in the McCarthy gets fired video, I said after they lost, I had a bad feeling about that game all week because what was the most Cowboy thing they could do? Lose to a 7 seed with a first-year starter, first-time playoff starter at quarterback, and the youngest roster in the NFL at home as a 2 seed. I said that's the most Cowboy thing they can do. And Cowboys always do Cowboy things. And on top of that, they did it, but don't worry. Be patient. Just wait. They won't let you down. They'll do Cowboy things. And they decided to one-up it tonight and retain Mike McCarthy. We all had to sit through that abysmal fucking performance on Sunday and try to digest what just happened, to then 3 days later get the news that they're going to do something even worse than what we watched on Sunday and retain the head coach responsible for what we saw. As a lame duck coach with the best coaching class in 10 years available, while losing the defensive coordinator. Cowboys will do Cowboy things, always. And in the words of Stephen A. Smith, don't worry. Be patient. Just wait. They won't let you down. Be patient. Just wait. They won't let you down. McCarthy's saying there's no point for me to watch next year. We all know how it's going to end. Unreal. This is the most upset I've been after a playoff loss in the following days, I think, in my life. But like I said, guys, don't worry. Be patient. They won't let you down. They'll do Cowboy things. And Jerry had to stick his nose back in right after I said he's been taking a step out of this stuff. And Stephen and Will McClay signed off on this fucking nonsense. Well, good luck with us finding the coaching class that isn't going to exist next year with no great available coaches. No Belichick's, no Pete Carroll's, no Tomlin's, no Harbaugh's, no Ben Johnson's, no Mike Vrabel's, because they'll all have jobs. We'll be sorting through the rest of the guys that get fired next year that nobody fucking wants. That's who we'll be sorting through. Which at that point, you might as well just re-extend McCarthy. Unreal, guys. Unreal. real. I'm in total and utter shock. The Cowboys retain Mike McCarthy as the head coach with no extension as a lame duck coach. The Cowboys have completely wasted their season before it even starts again. Be patient. Just wait. They won't let you down. Peace out, guys.